Do you want to sit back for an hour and maybe put something on in the background where I talk about Fortnite and transitioning into off-topic stuff, but still kind of related to Fortnite, a YouTube channel? Well, this is the episode for you. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another podcast. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I'm your guy with too many YouTube channels, and welcome back to the Clencast, my solo podcast where I upload these long-form videos. It's going to be really laid back. I'm not going to focus on, sitting up straight talking to the camera because I'm planning for this to be, an hour long, so I'm honestly just going to chill back a little bit. Got to make sure the microphone kind of stays in front of my face. And guys, so the plan for this podcast is going to be, I thought it'd be fun to just actually have a retrospective type thing and upload an entire episode of the podcast, slowly going through each season of Fortnite and talking about what I remember from them, things along that nature. And guys, before we get into it, I must apologize in advance because long story short, everything's totally okay with me, but I'm on some antibiotics and it's kind of affecting me on the inside. So I've been a little bit short of breath, so you might hear me throughout this episode take a few big breaths or take a little bit of a breather here now because I am going to be talking for a straight hour. So stick with me. I know I really like doing this stuff where, especially at work, at home, I always have something on in the background. So maybe this would be the episode for you. I wanted to start the episode talking about all of the Fortnite stuff because, of course, Fortnite related channel, gaming related channel. Of course, most people would like to hear about Fortnite stuff, but I also want to transition to, after I'm done talking about all that, and talk about the future of the channel, my goals of the channel, and talking about some other channels that I've been making, and one other channel that I'm starting to launch, why I'm doing that, what you can expect from the future of the Clen channel, when I'm going to be calling it quits, kind of stuff like that. So if you're interested, I'm going to leave that stuff kind of for the end of the episode. But we're going to start with Fortnite. And I don't know, I'm shooting for an hour, but we'll wait to see how long this goes. But guys, like I just said, sit back, relax. Let's start off with the beginning of Fortnite. My introduction to Fortnite, guys. I always wanted to make a video talking about this story, but I don't know how many people would necessarily be interested in that, so I thought it'd be perfect for a podcast. Again, guys, really, really, really laid back. So I started in Chapter 1, Season 3. My first experience with Fortnite, okay? I was about to play Call of Duty. I believe it was COD. It was either COD or Mario Strikers because it was a friend that I always played those games with. We were planning to play a different game that day. I remember that. And then he texted me and he's like, hey, these two guys want to come play Fortnite. Do you have Fortnite? And I'm like, no. And I never heard about Fortnite before. I never even heard the name Fortnite. So I was like, come on. And I'm one of those people, I don't typically enjoy trying to have new things. You know what I mean? So I was like this dude, come on, man. I just want to play some zombies. I can't remember for the life of me, though, if it was zombies or if it was Call of Duty Zombies or if it was Mario Strikers. I just remember the friend, okay? And I reluctantly downloaded it because I would rather play with my other two friends, right? So I downloaded this game called Fortnite, didn't know anything about it. It was really hard for me to learn at first, and I was like, I'm not going to build. I was a Halo player at the time, so I was like, I could just jump, and then that didn't really work out for me. So Chapter 1, Season 3 was my first season, and it was either shortly into the season or about the midway point, okay? I never got that feeling of the first win in Fortnite. You know that win everybody else is always talking about? Do you guys remember how tense your first win was? No. These dudes just carried me to win. I never got that feeling. I came out of my first game of Fortnite going, oh, wow, that was easy. Because to be honest with you, I don't even remember going down. We landed Retail Row. I remember that. And I was kind of just being carried because at that point, these guys have been playing Fortnite for quite some time now. They just carried me to a win. And I was like, oh, that was it. And I actually didn't really have an attachment to Fortnite until Fortnite really started to get popular. The day that I started playing Fortnite wasn't the day that Fortnite was kind of taken on over the world. You know what I mean? Because that happened in Chapter 1, Season 3, moving on to Season 4. I never heard about Fortnite until then. It wasn't until maybe a month or two later. It wasn't something like that. And then people started picking up Fortnite, and the rest of my friend group started picking up Fortnite because I always hate saying this because I can understand how it can come off, but I have a lot of friends. I hate saying that because I don't want to be yeah, I have so many people that I could play with, So I don't want to come off that way, but I have a lot of friends, and they all picked it up. So eventually I was playing the game just more often. I was like, oh yeah, I played that game Fortnite. And the best thing about it was something so casual, and it was something so different that kind of everybody could play. And at the time, not everybody was playing, not all games are free to play. You know what I mean? So I played Fortnite more and more, and honestly, I got hooked in Chapter 1, Season 3. I was enjoying it, and I've been playing, at the very least every other day since then. Since 2018, all the way back when. And I was really appreciative of Fortnite and Epic Games, this game coming out, because when that season came out in Chapter 1, Season 3, I wasn't at a rough point in my life or anything, but I was at a point in my life where I was working two jobs, and I kind of like I was working doubles every day. I was working a job at the hospital. I was working at a McDonald's. So I was going from one job to the other every single day, and then I was too tired to do anything. So at the time, I kind of felt myself like distancing from my friend group a little bit because I was working so much, and that along with I was trying to juggle my girlfriend. So thankfully that all worked out, and she was really really supportive of everything. So I just wasn't really talking to like a ton of people at that time in my life, and Fortnite was very very perfect because it was something all my friends enjoyed, and it was something that like didn't take any effort. At the end of the day, I could come home before bed, I could just sit down, I could run some games of Fortnite, you know what I mean? So it was a beautiful way, and that's probably one of the reasons why I enjoyed Fortnite so much more, was because I got to stay connected with all of my friends, you know? So it's just, it was really cool. So that's kind of what sparked everything for me, man. That's kind of what sparked it all. Like when me just sticking around playing Fortnite, I had a lot of fun with it. Chapter 1, Season 3, everybody was on it. Moving on, like I don't think there was anything else. But like to talk about what I liked about Season 3, there wasn't much going on with Season 3, right? It was just a regular Battle Royale game. The only thing in particular is I remember, and I think I mentioned this in a PBJ podcast, to be honest with you. I think I mentioned it in the sense where the storyline started, and that was at the point where we were playing Fortnite every single day, right? I was invested in this game. I thought this game was like what it could had the potential to be one of the greatest games ever. I was still on Team Smash Bros. At that point. And so I remember looking up in the sky and seeing that meteor. And then I joined the Fortnite subreddit. I was on Fortnite Twitter. I was watching Fortnite videos. Remember, I don't remember if it was the camping rusher back then that was getting really, really picking up some steam. But it was like somewhere around Season 4, right, with the camping rusher. But I was watching YouTube videos on it. And people were like, okay, what's going on with this meteor in the sky? Could it be like, oh, like there's meteors actually coming down and landing from the map? And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I want that to happen, you know? So I remember, and I still remember, man, my friends still play Fortnite to this day, at least the vast majority of them. They all still play Fortnite. None of them, as much as they play like I do, none of them ever was interested in the storyline. And that's what I didn't understand, man. Like, I was the only one, and that's why I appreciate so many of you on the channel, is I could talk about the storyline because nobody around, like, my friend group, like the people who just live here, the people that I see all the time, nobody cares about the Fortnite storyline. They just care about shooting people. I will never get that. I will never understand that, but ultimately I do respect it. So I remember like that was probably the day where I was really involved in the Fortnite storyline. It was from day one. When the meteor was in the sky, I was speculating what it could be, and I don't think there was really anything else. I saw some clips going viral online, and I wanted those meteors to like come and crash down to me. I thought that'd be really cool, but it never happened. But then moving on to Season 4, and this is where Fortnite like just completely skyrocketed, right? Chapter 1, Season 4, the OG days. Some people say this is the greatest season of all time, right? So it was very fun, I will say that. Dusty Divot was an absolute blast. The thing that really stood out to me, though, was the Avengers Endgame crossover. Or not, oh crap, the Avengers Infinity War crossover, because it was the only time, and I want to say, I can't remember it specifically if it was Chapter 1, Season 5 or Chapter 1, Season 4. I believe it was Season 5. At some point, I started working only one job, so like I kind of got my life back, which was very, very nice to see. But I think it was in Season 5. Regardless, I just kept playing Fortnite. I was like always like playing just a little bit. My friends were always online. It was very fun to see. Excuse me. I guess this is the part of doing a podcast, right? I'm going to need a little bit of water throughout the episode. Yeah, I'm not used to doing like this whole one cut type thing. But anyways, I remember because I really enjoy playing video games with my girl, who now is my wife. She was my girlfriend at the time. And it was the only time I could ever get her to play Fortnite. Don't get me wrong, like, she loves video games. I love playing co-op games with her. She's a big Nintendo person. She loves Animal Crossing. She loves Mario Kart. She loves Smash Bros, like those types of things. And don't get me wrong, those are really fun to play with her, but I always thought that would be really fun to play Smash Bros. Fortnite instead of just Smash Bros. Because she doesn't like shooters, and don't get me wrong, I respect that. We all like different things, right? But I would always, like, I keep trying to tell her, like, this game is different. You don't have to take it seriously. It's not like playing Call of Duty. And she's seen Fortnite, don't get me wrong, but the only time I was ever able to get her to play Fortnite was with that Avengers mode. And I remember like she was hiding in bushes, and it was really fun to watch. Like that Infinity War LTM was just so special in Fortnite. It was so much fun. I still wish to this day they could re-add it and make it squads. I didn't like the fact that it was solo, but then it also made for a really special moment because I gave my girl my Switch, and then I was watching her just run away from Thanos. So she reached a point where she was hiding in a bush the whole time too, where it was just her and Thanos, and Thanos was looking around the map for her in a small circle, but she was hiding in a bush, and Thanos couldn't catch her. It was really, really fun to speculate. But even then, just playing solos and getting to be Thanos, getting to be that overpowered thing, that's at the point where we knew, like, the Fortnite was really taking over, right? With Infinity War coming out, and they were actually, like, because at the time, like, there wasn't, like, a ton of video game crossovers. There was just, like, the fact that, like, there was such a big movie coming out, and Infinity War came out, like, it released, the whole world was captivated by it, but at the same time, the whole world was captivated by Fortnite, and then to have those two things come together, there are very few things, like, that could be bigger than that. You know, because since then, what other collaborations have really happened that Epic Games could really strike people with? You know, like, where it's like, oh my god, Infinity War? And at the time, like, that's when everybody was loving Marvel too, right? It's just, remembering that is crazy. I remember all the hype online, the people talking about, like, this great movie came out, and I still say that's my favorite movie to this day. In the history of movies, Infinity War is my favorite movie. And to have that come in with my favorite game was just incredible to see. It made for such really, really cool moments in Fortnite. And that was the start of something special for Fortnite, right? Jesus, I am probably going to go over an hour here. I just realized I'm 11 minutes into this recording. Well, I appreciate you guys being here. This is something that I like to do. So hopefully you guys enjoy this too. Like, I love listening to people just talk about things that I enjoy. So if you enjoy Fortnite, I hope you're enjoying this podcast so far. So anyways, guys, what was I talking about? I was talking about the Infinity War crossover. That was really big. I'm still upset that wasn't in squads. But other than that, the Fortnite storyline finally started to take over. And again, I was the only person in my friend group who was vaguely interested in the Fortnite storyline. Like, I'm talking like they weren't even vaguely interested. I was like, oh, so the movie set's going here, and we figured out the story was being told by loading screens, and there's this character named the Visitor. This guy came out of a pod from a meteor, and he's building a supervillain base. Like, what's going on here? Nobody cared. Nobody cared. I was experiencing all this stuff by myself because I was like, oh, so I heard there's an update around the villain lair. Let's go over there, see what's new. And then one of my friends, understandably so, they didn't like the Fortnite storyline. He's like, oh, there's no loot there. I'm not going there. I'm going to Snobby Shores. I'm going to go by myself and die. So there's nothing you can do. And there was no reboot vans at the time, too. So I was like, come on, guys. Come on. But again, from their perspective, it's completely understandable, right? I just don't get how you can play this game as much as everybody does and not be invested in the storyline, especially in Chapter 1, when it was like such a unique way to tell the story, right? But other than that, Season 4, there wasn't like anything really groundbreaking to the game. Like, I know golf carts weren't out then. There were some cool weapons. The hop rocks were probably the whole thing. But I think the Infinity War crossover was really like the biggest thing about it. But so I'll just move on to Season 5 because it was just a great time playing Fortnite. Chapter 1 vibes, you know, it was a really, really fun time. But Chapter 1, Season 5, I actually liked the game more as it progressed because we were finally getting good at Fortnite, and the biggest thing that stuck out to me in Chapter 1, Season 5 was actually Playground. I spent so much time playing Playground with my friends. And the thing was, there's so much different stuff that we did. First of all, we loved fighting each other in POIs. And then it turned into a whole thing where it's surprising at this point because Epic Games didn't have the feature when Playground launched to be able to keep your loot. I don't know why it took them so long to introduce that. I don't know if they expected people to just fight each other, but then again, why not? Because it's called Playground, right? So I guess make of that what you will. But we had to like kill each other and be like, oh, don't take my loot. And then we had to give each other ammo. And it was so frustrating to play such a fun game and not be able to like really, really flush it out that much. But it was so much fun, man. It was so much fun. That's not the only thing we did. We built parkour tracks. We were racing in those, We made race tracks, and it was the best because you only had an hour, right? So we're like, okay, 20 minutes, make a racetrack. We're all connecting together. I'm going to go to Paradise Palms. You go to this, the gas station over there. I'll figure out a way to connect with you. And then with like 15 minutes left, we're all going to meet there. We're all going to race. We were doing so many of those things, but the most fun Playground update for me was I don't even know what to call it. The update they made with Playground where there was they introduced the spiky stadiums and those bases in the sky. The ones that were pre-built, the ones that you could actually fight in. You could get some weapons, the vending machines. That was great. That was so good, man. The spiky stadium. I played with the spiky stadium with 3 of my friends for like an entire 2 days. I swear to God. That was so much fun to play with. Is spiky stadium. Man, at this rate, there We're 15 minutes in. This podcast is not going to be an hour. So maybe we're going to do chapter 1 today. And then I guess that could make for some other fun episodes, right? If we're talking about more. I'm already on chapter 1, season 5. So yeah, like the Playground update was absolutely incredible, man. Like just remembering the memories that I had back then. And now it's weird because we have creative now. We can do all of this stuff. But it was just different. I don't know. Like maybe I think about it differently because 2 of the friends that I played Playground with no longer play Fortnite. Like I said, like I have like a lot of friends that play video games and play Fortnite. But there's a select few people who don't play Fortnite anymore. And I think it's just because like they played so much Playground with me that I really, really kind of miss having them around, you know, because we don't talk that much anymore. And some of them, like, very long story short, very private information. Like, it's not like, no, like, oh my God, we got into a big fight. We don't talk anymore. It's just like, I don't want to talk about their life on a podcast. You know what I mean? But the Playground update was a blast. Season 5 also introduced Lazy Links, Paradise Palms, the desert biome. It was really, really huge, man. There was so much going on that season. The golf carts, something that oh my God, I didn't talk about in season 4. We had shopping carts. Remember the shopping carts coming down the hill? Like, there was a lot of really cool stuff they introduced. And the soccer stadium in season 4, playing soccer over there. The soccer field was a great POI. Like, I'm missing stuff in season 4. I'm kind of going off the top of my head here. But season 5, they had the golf carts. They had Lazy Links. And this is the time where I was like, guys, I knew it. I knew vehicles in Fortnite would be so much fun. I've wanted vehicles in Fortnite for God knows how long, you know? So I spent so much time playing around with those golf carts, the ATVs, flying across the map. Well, you know what's funny is for God knows what reason, I can never fly them. I just couldn't do it properly. I eventually learned, but it took me like a season and a half. I always had to get on the back and like, hey, Garrett, why don't you fly me across the map here? And I can't do it. And then I actually remember points where like, we died because I was trying to pick up somebody with an ATV and then they'd be like, okay, we're in trouble. Go fly away. And then I don't know why. I couldn't do it. And it was, there was just a lot of really fun moments in season 5. But I have to say, besides Playground, the actual standout for me was Lazy Links and the Battle Pass with the golf ball toy. There were so many times where we would drop in and we're like, boys, we're going to the links. And then we would actually play golf. We would kill whoever's at Lazy Links, or at least we would try to. We'd put traps all over the house. We'd get a lot of random kills like that because if you remember when you walked in Lazy Links, you had like, I don't even know how to describe it. So if you're walking through the front of Lazy Links, like on the left side, let's say, if you remember the POI, you could go straight through to the back because it was a very open house. There wasn't doors. There was just like the frames of the doors. You could turn right and the hallway would lead to the other side of the house. When you turn from those front doors, you can like have them right here. You go straight. Like, think about it this way. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to... Crap. I don't know how I'm going to do with my face cam. All right. You're coming this way. You're coming towards my face. That sounded weird. You're coming this way. You walk in, and then there's a room you could turn into, and then they would connect kind of like this. But there were also other doors just this way. When you come in and you turn, there was just one panel on the top where you could put traps. We would always find traps and always place them there. We would always find kills that way. But then, after the first fight, we would just play golf. We would legitimately play golf. I can't believe we actually did that. That's why Fortnite was so special at the time. It was a battle royale game. You could kind of do whatever you want. And this is something that I would really, really like. I could talk about this forever, man. Proximity chat in Fortnite. Come on. Could you imagine playing golf? It's like, hey, don't shoot me. We're gonna play some golf. You want to come play golf with us? And then people probably would, right? Of course, not everybody would, but that was a blast. That could have been a blast. Proximity chat, I could talk about that forever, man. I really, really could. That's the one thing that Fortnite desperately needs in this. It's so cool. But anyways, playing golf was crazy. Just saying that we play golf, like, it sounds so stupid, but it's one of those things, like, it's one of those you had to be there moments. Other than that, we played a lot of golf. We played a lot of ATVs. We actually did races at the racetrack at the time. Like, I don't think it was called Gus in season 5. It was called that before. But I remember, like, the first drop of season 5 was at the racetrack, and they were like, oh my God, it's an actual flushed out racetrack. And then they would actually, Epic Games, because they were absolute W's, they would have the countdown and actually make you able to race with the ATVs. And that was really, really fun. Season 5 was a blast. But other than that, this is where the whole Fortnite dying thing started to come about. I remember that, but I didn't really pay attention to it too much. everybody around me was still liking it. People, like the players were still really, really killing it. Streamers were huge in Season 5. I remember this is the point where everybody started to complain about the spray and pray meta, but I didn't care about that because I was playing Playground. I was playing golf on the map. It was so much fun to do, man. Other than that, I don't think anything from Season 5 really, really stood out. But moving on to Season 6, and this is really interesting because I really liked Season 6, but it wasn't necessarily my favorite season compared to... In Chapter 1, Season 9 was my least favorite. But I think Season 6 would be next because after that, man, it was an absolute blast. Excuse me for a moment. A little bit of a dry mouth. Season 6, they continue the storyline. Nothing stood out to Season 5, I said. As Kevin the Cube was introduced in Season 5. Holy, what did I miss there? Rewind for a second. We're not talking about Season 6 because Kevin the Cube, holy, was that fun to play with. Do you guys remember, if you were there, because I know there's a lot of you on the channel who started playing in like Chapter 2. For those of you in the OG days, do you remember the conversations that were taking place in the Fortnite community, YouTube, Reddit, whatever it was? I know the Fortnite BR subreddit was huge back then. I miss those Fortnite BR subreddit days, by the way, but there was a cube on the map. A big purple cube. It just spawned. I wasn't there for it. I just played. Like, I loaded up one day, and then my friend that I was playing with was like, "Did you see the cube?" I'm like, "The cube? What are you talking about?" And then we dropped, and there's this cube. But what we figured out was, of course, if you shot it, or if you pickaxed it, you'd fly away, and it had, like, really wonky mechanics. We never actually figured out if you shoot Kevin the Cube, does it zap the closest player to it? I think that's what it was, but we never really figured it out, but it was so much fun. It was so much fun to play around the cube. It was so weird, like, driving ATVs on it. Yeah, that was crazy, man. Crazy. But then when Kevin went into the loot lake, I didn't see that live event. My first live event was in Season 8, I believe. Oh my god. Oh my god, the bouncy Kevin loot lake was some of the most fun I've ever had playing this game. It was only for a few days, I think, but man, like, the loot lake was purple. We were touching it. We were bouncing on it. Do you remember, like, bouncing on it? It was like a quick bounce, too. It was a little bit of a wonky Fortnite thing, right? Because you'd be bouncing so fast, and everybody would start trying to land on different platforms or trying to land in the middle of loot lake, but we couldn't because you were bouncing so fast, people were shooting at you, and then you were moving so fast that people couldn't shoot at you. It was crazy. I don't know if Donald Mustard alone thought of that, but it was such a good idea. Such a good idea. Like, I remember bouncing through people. Why did jetpacks ringing a bell? Maybe there were jetpacks there. Maybe there was grapplers. Maybe that's what it was. But, like, I remember bouncing around Loot Lake and trying to, like, as somebody was, like, bouncing by, trying to hit him with a shotgun, you know? That was really fun, man. That was really fun. But now I think we can actually move on to Season 6 for real because we had the first 4 nightmares that I experienced, at least. I think it was, like, the first proper 4 nightmares. But other than that, there was a new loot pool update. The map changes were a little bit lackluster. We had the Kevin floating island, which was really fun. It would have been more fun if you could fall off of it, but maybe that's just me thinking I could have fun with impulse grenades, right? But, of course, 4 Nightmares really stands out because, actually, there were most people around me that really hated 4 Nightmares. Just because the zombies were annoying. They didn't want to die to zombies. I thought it was incredible for the game. And if you remember, like, back when those zombies were out, back in Chapter 1, Season 6, man, the zombies were, like, nonstop. The zombies were everywhere. The zombies, like, you could be having a build fight. The zombies would just crowd you and chop it down. I thought that added an incredible element to the game. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was, like, something you really had to worry about. You could hide among the zombies. People could get distracted with the zombies. There was a lot of fog on the map. The cosmetics were great. It was an all-around good time, man. It was a really, really good time. And I found it really interesting. Like, if you destroyed the spawner, you'd have a little bit of a place where you could just really chill with, you could really chill with, like, just having no fog around for a little bit. Why I paused there was because I remembered playing around at Risky Reels, and that's something I didn't mention in Season 4. I'll leave you with this. The Search 7 chests in Risky Reels was so much fun. Okay, but, with Season 6, man, there wasn't, like, really anything that stood out. Like, the Shadow Ghouls were fun, but that got disabled really quick. Wailing Woods was really fun to play in with the zombies. There wasn't, like, yeah, Season 6 was a little bit of a lackluster season, but for 4 Nightmares specifically, I really enjoyed it, man. But I don't think there's anything, like, really special to talk about when it comes to that. I'm trying to think. I don't think we have anything about it, but let's move on to Season 7. One of the greatest seasons in Fortnite history. I just remember, man, because guys, I'm a big Halloween and Christmas nerd. Right now, it is, at the time of recording this podcast, it is September 20th. My girl already has Halloween decorations ready to be put up, and I'm all for it, man. All for it. And Christmas even better. I'm like your weirdo with November 1st. I'm ready for Christmas. So to play video games during these times, and along with just playing video games in general, like growing up, around the holidays were the best time ever. And Fortnite, for the first time, really captured those moments. I will never forget watching that trailer on close to Christmas, the first Winterfest. We didn't know Fortnite would just bang out the kind of season that they did. They made a whole winter themed season, right? It was incredible. With the Crackshots cabin, the introduction of the Christmas song, the one going da 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 da. I can hear my dog doing some upstairs, and I'm worried that she's coming because of that noise. But this is something that I wish Epic Games would do again, is have an entire Christmas-themed season. Like, it was all winter-themed. It started off with, winter and icy theme with, some Christmas elements, and then it ended in January. It was perfect. It was perfect the way they did that. They had the snowball toys. They had Christmas cosmetics. They had a big chunk of the ice on the map. Something I mentioned, I don't know why, in Season 6 was we saw the iceberg coming. This was, of course, prior to Season 7, like I just mentioned, but we saw the iceberg coming, and just like the meteor, I was the only one who cared about it. But it looked like at the time, I remember it like it was yesterday, man. I was looking off the island, I was like, that's something coming. Like, that wasn't there, you know? That wasn't there before, and at the time, it looked like there was fog, or there was a blizzard, or if there was a hurricane around it. And the Fortnite BR subreddit was going crazy. Like, what is this thing? Are we just seeing things? Or it's like people were talking about, hey, you know what? It's just leftover code that Epic Games, leftover assets or something that they just put on the map, and maybe you just can see it for whatever reason. So we didn't think much of it. But then when the trailer came and the iceberg was actually there, I was like, it was an iceberg, because we didn't really know what to think of it. I remember there was a lot of stuff around it being a hurricane, or being just, again, something that we weren't meant to see. But now we know that Epic Games likes to tease this stuff, and that's something that we're really, really, just paying attention to. So, the Christmas season, Planes came out, and the Infinity Blade. I loved both of these things. It's crazy to me how much people, and I'm going to try to not do this throughout the entire podcast, okay? Because it's... I don't want to sound like I'm complaining, because everybody hated the Stormwings in Season 7. And now everybody looks at Chapter 1, Season 7 like, oh, Epic Games made a great Christmas season. Oh, the planes. Remember when the planes first came out? Now they're ruined by fuel. Yeah, they probably put fuel in it because everybody was crying about the planes. But, man, was that fun. Stealing the planes from my teammates, flying away from my teammates. And, of course, I'm not just doing this as squad fills, right? We're just having fun with my friends and I. But, man, the planes coming out and adding to Fortnite was an absolute blast. I remember, just gunning down people in build fights. And this is at the point where Fortnite started to get, a little bit more of a skill gap. I remember in Chapter 1, Season 7, they actually got, quite good, especially with the release of Arena, which I do want to touch on, by the way. But, man, excuse me, I spent so much time flying through people's build fights and then just waiting a second for them to fall and then eliminated. Just the knock sound, the psh, psh, psh. It was great, man. It was so good. But even people around me really hated the plane updates. But man, if you guys watch on the channel, Josh, Nick, and I, we played so much with those planes. And then on top of that, you ever get two planes of the squad and just have dogfights in the sky where you're crashing into each other? Man, that was crazy. I remember there were points where I had a whole squad too, and we would all have our own plane that would be the goal of the game, right? And then we would just dive bomb people build fighting. It was so much fun to play. I remember it was yesterday, man. There were some special moments in Fortnite, but other than that, the map changes were great. I loved Happy Hamlet. It was this great Christmas POI. It overstayed its welcome, but at the time, it was really cool to see all these Christmas houses around the map. I thought it was an absolute blast. Polar Peak was one of the greatest POIs of all time. This giant castle, and it was revealed slowly. Like, I remember like the whole prisoner storyline. I was following that, the Ice King storyline, but the Infinity Blade, man. Oh my God. The Infinity Blade, I had so much fun with. That mythic item, the first mythic item. I will say, I disagreed with it being competitive. I don't know who thought that was a good idea, but the Infinity Blade, that had absolutely no place in competitive, man. Like, I don't even know where to start by thinking about whose idea it was. Like, how could people collectively come together and think that it was a good idea to have the Infinity Blade competitive? Like, what's going on, dude? What is going on here? But so, other than that, it was really fun. You had the introduction of balloons too. That was one of my favorite items at the time. I remember I thought it was an absolute genius because I found out a way to beat the balloons. And that was to beat the Infinity Blade, and that was to use balloons. I was just floating above and like spraying down at the guy with the Infinity Blade with the AR. But other than that, like, do you remember everybody coming together? Everybody landing at Polar Peak to try to get that Infinity Blade? And it had that like Thanos element that was really scary. And that's something that I really, really enjoyed about it. There was something scary on the map that you had to run from. You could see that blue glow with a guy with a sword coming at you, dashing up in the air, you know? Like, oh man, that was fun. That was fun to get the Infinity Blade to kill people. You could still build too. It was crazy. It was crazy. But the other thing that really stood out to me, and one of the reasons why I really loved Chapter 1 Season 7, was because Arena came out. I quite enjoyed playing competitive. I wasn't that great at it, but that made the wins that much more fun because people were good at Fortnite then, and endgames were an absolute blast. There was one friend of mine I was really, really close with, and we didn't have a falling out or anything, don't get me wrong. But at the time, I was insanely close with, and he was the only one who would stay up with me and play Arena because everybody else went to bed early, of course. But we're like, no, let's hop on at like 1 a.m. Let's play some Arena. He was in school, so he could sleep in, and I didn't care about my sleep schedule, so we hopped on. We would play Arena every night. I remember our first Arena win. That is the feeling that I had. You know how I said I never had my first Fortnite win feeling? I had that with my first Arena win feel because I had the sickest snipe. I had the best snipe of all time. I remember exactly what I said because I have the clip. I sniped the guy and I was like, oh, I just did the best snipe ever. And we won the game, and then we were getting really hyped. I remember Chapter 1 Season 7 with a lot of nostalgia because I don't talk to that friend much anymore. Very long, again, we didn't have a falling out or anything, but he stopped playing Fortnite shortly after that season because of something going on in his life. Again, like separate between him and I, no falling out or anything. We still talk like when we can and stuff like that, but I really, really miss him. I really miss playing, and like that was like kind of the final like really, really good memories I had with this guy. And I just remember like the release of Arena, how much we played it. That same with creative mode, man. I'm going to touch on that. But that's where it like really hits home to me because that's like the last good memories I have of him. And I've mentioned this on stream before is I have recordings and I make videos of like all of our old gameplay. I have all of those moments with that guy, and I will cherish those for the rest of my life. So the release of Arena and creative mode was great in my opinion. But I remember the release of creative mode, and it was at the beginning of the season too. I thought, okay, this is where Fortnite's going to take Minecraft. Fortnite is going to be something insanely, insanely special with creative mode. We were building like the worst, the worst parkour tracks, but it was fun. It was everything we could do in Playground, just multiplied. Of course, like you guys know what creative turned out to be, but do you remember like there was something special about using the map codes and the old death runs that people used to make? I still love those, man. Trying to beat those, trying to like at this point they would be very low quality, but like we were playing these maps and we were like, wow, this is Fortnite. This is nuts. And I remember like I made my own race tracks. I made my own death runs. I made my own snipers versus runners course. That friend that I was just telling you guys about, we made a bunch of maps together, and I still refuse to delete them because like we'll never play them again because there's so much new stuff you could do in creative. But oh my God, it was so much fun. I miss Season 7 a lot. I love Fortnite as it is today. The game continuously gets better, but there's just some times that you miss, you know? And that's why I feel like I could get into this whole conversation, but the people who always talk about how Fortnite isn't the same anymore, you know? Fortnite just doesn't hit the same. Like, no, like, you're like me, man. You miss the times with some particular friends that you were playing. You miss the state of your life because, again, that was still in 2018, Chapter 1, Season 7, right? Yeah, you just like, and especially if you're in a time of your life where you're growing up a little bit, you miss that point of your life. I don't particularly. I'm getting happier as the days go by, but of course not everyone's like me in that sense. So the game's been getting infinitely better. But other than that, what else happened in Season 7? Season 7 had the live event that, again, I missed, well, which was really fun, by the way, because the Ice King made the whole map snow. It was really close to Christmas. Hopped on one day, and that same friend that I was telling you about, he's like, oh, Kyle, you're going to love the update. And I was like, okay, I won't look. I'll hop on. I'll be surprised. And boy, was I surprised. Like I was just telling you guys, I was a big Christmas nerd. Well, I still am. I was so hyped to see that map full of snow. Oh my God. It was great. And then Christmas came around. Winterfest came around. Like I said, playing Fortnite on Christmas, during the holidays, is something really special. And something that I love doing. It's a tradition, and I'm a little bit sad because this tradition is going to come to an end for me because like I'm starting my own family. I actually don't know if I've said this on stream or anything or if on YouTube. I feel like I've mentioned it, but we found out not too long ago that I'm gonna be having a baby. So of course, like I'm not complaining or anything. Don't get me wrong. My priorities will forever be to them. Spend Christmas with my family. Spend Christmas with the people in my life. I like live separately from my parents now, so it's not like, hey, I'm gonna go run downstairs for an hour because every single Christmas for God knows how long, my brother and our friend Nick and we did a podcast together. The two guys I was doing a podcast with, we play a little bit of games on Christmas Day, every Christmas. And it just like, again, I'm not complaining because it's just life where Christmas, I can't just sit down and play video games. You know what I mean? But I hope to at least like hop on and play one singular game, keep that tradition going. So point being, Winterfest was really fun to me. There was a game that really captured the Christmas spirit. I remember like every year I go to hot chocolate with my mom from Tim Hortons, even though we can make it at home. We just do a drive. Like that Winterfest day, man, it was snowing. It was perfect. I went to go get a hot chocolate with my mom. We came back. I played Fortnite with Josh and Nick for an hour. I hung out with I spent some time with my girlfriend at the time, and we at that time of our lives, we were still kind of like doing holidays a little bit separate because we of course weren't married like we are now, but it was so cool. And to do all of that and have the Christmas traditions along with a game with like the snowman skin, it just captured the Christmas feeling so well. And that's something that I really loved about it, man. I really enjoyed season 7 of chapter 1. One of the greatest seasons of all time. So the live event was there. They had the snow zombies. I enjoyed that just like I did with Chapter 1, Season 6. I don't think there was anything else, right? Because, there was a Marshmallow concert. I missed that. My work hours were crazy at that time, man. It's not like I can just hop on now because now I have like a pretty set schedule with work. I work days. But at that time, man, no, I was all over the place. So I was missing the live events. How did Season 7 end? It ended with earthquakes. But I don't remember if there was anything else. Like, there was the Fire King storyline that was really cool. Oh, yeah, so we were speculating about the volcano. The build up to that was really fun. I thought a volcano POI would be great. And then moving into Chapter 1, Season 8, which I don't know why. Because I feel like objectively, there were other seasons that had better openings. But, like, I think it's just me, like, loving, like, the idea of pirates. I think they're cool. I don't know why. I've always thought pirates were really cool. I find I enjoy the environment of like the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. I've wanted to watch Vikings, although I understand that's not pirates, but it's kind of like the same thing. So I was really hyped up about the beginning of that season, the volcano spawn. Chapter 1, Season 8 somehow was better than Chapter 1, Season 7. There was so much going on there. You want to talk about the Avengers Endgame crossover too, just like the Infinity War? Didn't quite hit the same, but it was so you know what? I'll just start with that, man, because Endgame was coming out. And at the time, like I said, Marvel movies were taking over the world. I was so invested in Marvel movies, man. And so a couple of my friends and I were really, really, really into the storyline. And I was so convinced, dude, at the time. I was like, dude, Loki's not dead. Loki's the Hulk. And that's why he couldn't come out in Infinity War. Like, Loki's just pretending to be Bruce Banner. I was really convinced by that. So we were like, having all these back and forths about like what's going to happen in Avengers Endgame. We just had a lot of those conversations on Fortnite. And I remember like, oh my God, because I have a friend who, if you watch the channel a lot, it's Brandon. He just doesn't think when he speaks. and he spoils things. And I didn't see Avengers Endgame on opening night. And he's like, oh, I know what happens in Avengers Endgame. I'm like, no way. So we booted him from the party. I know I'm getting a little bit off topic. So we booted him from the party, and we didn't play with him for the rest of the night. And then he was like, I wasn't going to spoil anything. I was like, I don't care. I've been waiting 10 years to see this movie. I was in the theaters of the very first movie from Marvel, and I've watched everyone ever since. You're not spoiling this for me. And then he was like, he was probably a little bit sad, but I was like, no, he deserved that. And then the three of us played trios for the rest of the night. Actually, I believe we got someone else online, but it doesn't really matter. The Avengers Endgame LTM was really fun. I remember being low-key worried that, I didn't want to watch the trailer in case it spoiled anything, but I guess nothing came from it. It was really fun using those mythics, but it didn't really hit the same because you could beat Thanos, but he wasn't it was Team Rumble. That was the thing. I was all hyped up that it was about teams, and it just ended up being Team Rumble. Excuse me for a second. Man, I'm not going to get into what I wanted to talk about because we're 40 minutes into the podcast. I'll be doing that another time. I can't believe I thought I was going to sit down here, talk about every season of Fortnite in Chapter 1, but and then just talk about the future of the channel. I thought I was going to get past that, but we're definitely not doing that. It's going to be a Chapter 1 podcast now. So other than that, there was so much to talk about Season 8. The ballers were a blast. I remember playing with those and swinging along the trees. Those were really fun. The boom bow was my favorite item of all time at the time because everybody was so pissed off at it. And I was like, man, this gun is fun. Arena was really fun to play. At that point, that friend that I always played Arena with quit Fortnite. He quit video games in general, wasn't playing anymore. And again, he had something going on in his own life, very private. So I actually was able to somehow get another friend of mine to come and play Arena with me. And then I had, as we were improving the game, our strategy because at the time, my other friend that I was playing Arena that I was talking about, he was good at the game at the time. So I had someone to carry me a little bit. The new guy that I was playing with, for those of you guys, for you watch the channel, it's Garrett. He is not good at the game. Now he's good at the game. But at the time, he was the worst player ever. So our strategy was to always land at knockoff Risky Reels. If you remember that place, the place that was in the spot of Risky Reels. And I didn't talk about the block. But that's not too important. I guess I can skip that. I've talked about the block many times on the channel. But our strategy was to either find ballers and hide in those, or just knock off Risky Reels, get all the mats because not a lot of people landed there, and hide. And hide until the end game. And then everybody was going crazy. And it was so crazy because everything was going on in us too. We weren't good. And then everybody at that point was trying to get into cash cups. So we were going crazy and we rarely won. But when we did, it was really hype. Some of my favorite Fortnite memories is with Garrett playing the arenas. And we played that throughout the entirety of Season 8 and Season 9. Season X, we got away from it a little bit because everybody, our whole friend group was really loving Fortnite at that moment. So we were always playing squads at the very least. But him and I played a lot of duos that season. There was so many good things about it. The pirate theme was cool. Loved the battle pass. This actually was the first live event that I got to watch, was the unvaulting. And I was almost late for it. Thank God, because I would have been so pissed off because I wanted to watch it. I was really paying attention to everything going on with the monster. I really wanted to see what was going on here, I wanted to see if the volcano was going to erupt. And it was really cool to see. Oh, you know what? Before we talk about that, I want to talk about the little runes that were going across the map. I remember for some reason, I thought it was really fun where we had to figure out what's going on. It was the keys to the vault. These things were coming out. We had to pickaxe them, and there was collectively a team effort with everybody playing Fortnite ever. I thought that was a really cool thing, but then we ended up talking about this is where the storyline started building up just a little bit more. And we had to figure out okay, there's some government type thing. I remember some people were floating the idea that we were in a simulation, but nothing was set in stone yet. We just couldn't really figure out why there was a storm. We just kind of chalked it up to, okay, it's a battle royale game, But there were some tractors coming in. They were digging around Loot Lake, and there was a vault, which I actually don't remember at the time if we thought it was a vault or if we just thought it was this underground thing. I don't remember what everybody was talking about, but regardless, the way they handled that whole storyline was very cool. It was very fun. We didn't know anything about it, and the unvaulting event actually happened. I remember thinking it was so beautiful when we went in there, and it's so unfortunate because half the people the live event didn't work for, right? And sorry if you can hear the mic picking up that noise. My dog's jumping. But we float down in that thing, and then we have the whole in-between scenario. And I remember going there, and I was like, man, this looks beautiful. I was walking around. I was seeing like, oh, what's that big ball there? You know? And then there was Singularity's helmet at the time. We didn't know. And that's the point in the Fortnite storyline where I was like very, very interested, right? I was very hyped up to see what was going on in Fortnite. So I thought it was beautiful in there. But then, of course, we were unvaulting, and I was pickaxing the Infinity Blade. I wanted that thing to come back. I wanted Blaine's to come back. But I remember like when they chose the drum gun, I was like, oh my God, what was everybody thinking? Because I like back when the drum gun was out, everybody was crying about it, right? And then of course, like you can't make this stuff up. The drum gun got unvaulted, and then like within a day, oh, Epic Games, if you keep the drum gun in here anymore, it's gonna die. Your game's completely done. We can't play this anymore if you keep the drum gun in. I'm like, the player base voted for the drum gun. What's going on here? It's possible that it could have been pre-planned, but leave it to the Fortnite community, man, to unvault the drum gun and just complain about it like the second after. But the best part about that was there was a second part to the live event. And I remember being slightly disappointed because I was like, oh, they were really building up to this volcano erupting, and then it never ended up erupting. So I was like, okay, but this is still pretty cool. You know what I mean? So the unvaulting events there, and this is something that Epic Games did very well because they made it seem like the live event was over, but then all of a sudden, we're in the sky, we're floating, we're gliding, the whole map is red, the volcano's actually erupting. The way they handled this was just so cool. Because you saw like the big boulders fly out of the volcano. It hit, I don't remember what order it was, but it hit Retail Row. It hit whatever. It hit the iceberg, and that's what led to Caddis, right? And I was really sad because I was like, out of all the things you could have hit, you had to hit my favorite POI. You had to hit Polar Peak. You had to destroy Polar Peak, right? But then man, if I ever find these clips, I'm going to upload it to YouTube because I have them. I have them all. The screams that happened when Tilted was finally getting destroyed was just unmatched, man. It was so hyped. We're like, after all this time, they're actually destroying it, and it was insane to me. It was insane to see. So Tilted was finally destroyed, and then there was that thing that we got to play around with. I enjoyed this a lot more, and this is something that Aiko brought up on Twitter. Was we got to like come into the live events. We got to like have fun with the aftermath of them, right? So we got to play around with the lava and Tilted Towers, and we were exploring it, and it was all rubble afterwards, and I was like, wow, Tilted's actually gone after all this time. That's absolutely insane. And I don't remember if this was the start of Season 9 or if it was the end of Season 8, because I remember visiting Polar Peak, and I was like, Polar Peak's gone, man. Polar Peak's gone. But then there was that eyeball, which at the time we didn't know it was the Caddis monster. I was like, and I experienced that for the first time, like naturally. I didn't see it online. I was walking by it, and I was like, there's an eyeball. Like, and it was like a giant eyeball, right? Like, and we thought we obviously like knew like a monster was under there or something, right? So I remember seeing that and freaking out, and I was like, what the heck is going on here? So that was really fun to experience. But then other than that, I don't think there's anything else that like really, really stood out about Season 8. Like, I'm saying that as if like nothing stood out about it. It was just so much fun. At least nothing off the top of my head comes when I talk about Season 8. Now, moving on to Season 9, I thought the opening was great. The Battle Pass was great. The map changes were great, right? The reason why I always say that Season 9 was one of my least favorite seasons of all time. They did so many things perfectly that season. Like, the loot pool was great. The map changes were great. There were so many great things about Season 9, right? The storyline was perfect that season. The slipstreams ruined that for me. And it was the first time, well, don't get me wrong, I always have a little bit of a rough time talking about this because I don't want to sound out like, oh, I was hopping on, I was dying, I wasn't having fun. I was having fun. I was still playing with my friends. We were trying to win, right? But we never even got close to winning a game that season because no matter what, we weren't good enough where the slipstreams were always here. Hi, my dog's here. Sorry, guys. Hi, Sonny. What are you doing? What are you doing? Hi, you gotta go over there. I'm recording right now. I don't know if she's picking it up. Oh, yep, she's right here. Hi, okay, go over there. Out. Come on. Out. Lay down. Hey, come on. Out. Come on, you. 1 second, guys. My apologies. Out. Good girl. Good girl. What was I talking about? I was talking about the slipstreams. Yes. Okay. So the slipstreams, we weren't good enough where we could actually constantly get third-partied and live to see another day. So we never got close to winning that season. We were constantly dying. One fight, even if we got past that fight, we were at the point where so many people were really good at Fortnite, and we weren't. If we happened to get past a fight with low health, there was no way we were winning, you know? So Season 9 was a really rough season to play. Played a lot of creative. Other than that, like, if the slipstreams weren't there, and if they just kept them in, and hi, I was already interrupted by the dogs, so no, that's okay. Don't be sorry. Oh, thank you very much. Okay, I love you. So Season 9, I lost my train of thought again. Season 9, slipstreams. Yeah, if they just kept it around just Neo Tilted and Mega Mall, and there was one more POI around it, wasn't there? Regardless, like, they were all over the map, and you could, like, literally find slipstreams anywhere, right? So if they weren't there, that season would have been perfect. Other than that, it was great. Like, one of the best things on there was about Bunker Jonesy and having the whole piece that you had to put together at the time. Like, it's crazy to me that we're still uncovering stuff like that. It was just really fun to do. So there were still things to be really, really hyped up about about Season 9. But the gameplay for me was really lacking that season. And apologies for the interruption there, guys. My wife is leaving. She said that she wouldn't interrupt me. So she's an absolute W when I'm recording, guys. Like, she went upstairs to watch TV instead of the living room. She's absolutely awesome. She's taking the dog for a pee too right now because she's leaving the house. So she's like, "Oh, record your podcast. I won't interrupt you. I'm just going to leave." So she's great, man. I love her with all my heart. But I actually, man, for Season 9, I don't have much to say. I'm trying to think about something else. Like, there were so many things. I remember, like, Neo Tilted was great to look at. The live event, other than that, like, the build-up for the live event was really cool because you had, like, all the power from Loot Lake, and at the time, we didn't know it was the 0 point. We had the power going to make it to Neo Tilted, but then we had, like, the monster's footsteps, right? And we had to see where it was going. We speculated if it was in the water or if it was underground somewhere. We didn't know where it was. And that was really fun to talk about. But again, the people that I played with didn't care. They were like, "Oh, footprints. Yeah." And I was like, I know. I get it, man. I get it. But how can you play this game every single day and not, like, question that? I will never understand that, man. But it was just a good time, man. It was a good time. I was speculating about the monster and then Pressure Plant, one of the greatest Fortnite POIs of all time. It was really fun to play with in Arena. We had the building of the mech. I won't even talk about, like, how much fun Pressure Plant was to play, and it was one of my favorite POIs of all time. Good replacement for Boulder Peak, I will tell you that. But we were speculating for so long, and this is actually where I really got into the Camping Rusher, because he was covering the update with the mechs. That was, the payoff for that was perfect. Got to watch that live event. We were going crazy. We were screaming. The mech, we knocked the monster into the water, and then the monster came back out. It wasn't done, but then, there, you know, like, it was just like a really cool fight scene, and everybody was like, "Oh my god, oh, let's go monster." And I remember I Heart Team Caddis, Heart Team Mech, stuff like that. Season 9 had some very, very strong moments, but then I remember at the end of Season 9, because obviously Singularity pulled out the 0 point and clocked the beast with it, there was this ball again, this random energy ball that people were calling it. Do you guys remember before it was a 0 point? It was on the map. I don't remember if at the time, I think you could go into it and you would rift. If not, that was Season X for sure. But I remember all the time, like, you went into it, like, changed your view just a little bit, right? It was crazy, man, because it was this weird thing. It was like Kevin the Cube again, right? But then moving on to Season X, one of my favorite seasons of all time, right behind Chapter 2, Season 7. It could be the same, man. It could be right there. Oh my god. Season X, I don't even know where to begin. The Battle Pass was great. The opening trailer was great. We got Dusty Depot back, right? The factories were back. The meteor was in the sky. It was like a time travel type season. The mechs, I actually had fun with. I had fun with it. I understand the frustration of people. I've talked about mechs many times on the channel, so I'm not going to go into the entire mech conversation, but I thought it was cool. I thought it was interesting. The loading screen was perfect. The one where it's like the character's just hiding from the mech, right? You know, it was It was really fun. Sorry, I don't know if this is like a regular podcasting because usually people have guests, right? I'm stopping to take a little bit of a water break. Again, very casual. Very casual. I know I've caught myself a few times saying, I know I'm deep breathing a little bit again. Apologies again. I'm on some antibiotics, so I'm a little bit short of breath. There we go again. I'm not used to saying, I don't think. But, so Season X, hello. Taking off. Thank you very much for doing that. Apologies, guys. Just 1 second. I'm going to say now. I'm going to say bye now. Sorry. Very briefly. Okay, I have to continue, okay? So I'm going to say bye. I love you with all my heart. Thank you for doing that. So other than that, the mechs were really, really fun. Season X, the storyline was absolutely perfect. I loved the way they told it with the rift beacons, and they were rifting in things like we saw the Borderlands crossover. Rift zones, and I wish that people understood how good they were at that time, because people were equating all of those negative feelings towards the mechs in Season X to everything that was going on in Season X. But we got like POI updates, new weapons every single week. Like, they've never done that again. The rift zones were some of the most fun that I've ever had in Fortnite history. Ever out of everything. There was a new gimmick. Every single place that you went. You had the zombies in Retail Row. That's the perfect medium. It's the perfect medium for anybody who hates some sort of gimmick. Taco time was a blast. I remember thinking it's hilarious. Again, sorry if my mic's picking that stuff up, guys. But, you had Greasy Grove turn into Taco Time. You had Borderlands where you had to hide away or like kill somebody instantly, or your shields would completely go up. What else? The Retail Row with the zombies. I'll touch on Tilted Town in a moment, but I don't know why it's not coming to me. Starry Suburbs was my favorite POI of all time. It was just really wholesome seeing those like broken down castles back up, you know? So I loved it, man. But Tilted Town was some of the most fun that I've ever had playing in Fortnite. No building, no breaking. At that point in my life, I was working in an emergency room, and I was working from 1 p.m. to 11 p.m. every day. And it happened to work out where one of my friends would stay up. My brother was also working, and my friend was also working afternoons. He was Garrett. So Josh, Brandon, Garrett, and I would stay up every single night and play Tilted Town. And it was absolutely crazy because everybody was landing at Tilted Town, and it was the first time in Fortnite where you could, I love you. Thank you for doing that. Where you could just jump in, and you couldn't break anything, so that was really, really tough. It was made for some different gameplay, made some very unique gameplay, and my dog's here, guys. I'm so sorry about the interruptions. Hi, Sunny. She's waiting now. I think she's laying down. I think we're good. I'm very sorry. I don't know if this takes away from the video at all, but the no build and no breaking thing was great. I'm shocked that they never brought back the no break-in. It's just there's so many great things in Season X. I feel like they never revisited because of the hate for the season, right? But every day we would land, we would play Tilted Town. It was so much fun. I have the best memories from those days, man. But there were so many different things about Season X. Like, I enjoyed the storyline. I remember finding the scientist tapes, and that was incredible to put them all together. And that was the time where I really enjoyed hearing voice lines in Fortnite because I was like, the loop. What is that? Like, we were trying to break down everything, and it was so much fun talking about everything, right? Talking about everything that's going on with the building the rocket, or are we back in time? We were talking about all this crazy stuff, and that led us to the end event. Man, that's actually like, it hurts my feelings a little bit because one of my friends who you rarely saw on the channel because he barely played in Chapter 2, like there was some moments where like he would try to get back into Fortnite, but it just wouldn't hit the same for him. He's like one of those, I won't get into that. Like, it's just, like people don't want to play video games anymore as they age. It was like kind of like that issue, I believe. But my friend, the last time that I really played with him was in the end event in Season X. I remember talking about like everybody was like speculating that we're going to get a new map for Season X in general, but then, okay, maybe the end of Season X actually would be the end, you know what I mean? Who knows what's going to happen if they're going to have a brand new map because people wanted that at that time. People were sick of the map. People were sick of everything. But so I load up with my friend and Brandon. We're going to watch the end event together. We don't know what's going to happen. My friend or Brandon lags out right. It's so funny. The countdown ended. You couldn't write this better, man. The countdown ended and I hear Brandon go, uh-oh. And then he disconnected. He didn't get to see the end event. The best event of all time. But So it actually worked out because I got to say goodbye to Chapter 1 and all of my memories with somebody who I played every day with. Almost every day. Like in Season X, he was getting a little bit frustrated too. Plus, he wasn't staying up nearly as late as us. So regardless, I played with this guy since the beginning of Fortnite, and he quit right around like the beginning of Chapter 2. So I look back at that. I watched the end event with him, and I'm not only saying goodbye, and it's like so emotional, right? You're saying goodbye to Chapter 1 and all the memories of Fortnite. You're saying goodbye to that game because Fortnite essentially became a new game, right? I look back at that event with that music, like, oh, Epic's music team needs a boost, man. I'll boost and pay. They're absolutely fantastic. I love it. I absolutely love it. But I remember, man, like it was yesterday, saying goodbye to Chapter 1, saying goodbye to my friend. That's kind of how I look at it. That's why the end event means so much to me, because I love this man with all my heart, right? Like, I miss playing with him, and it was the perfect send-off for him. You couldn't have wrote it any better, dude. He quit Fortnite right after. He didn't like the new map. He didn't like Chapter 2, and he was already at a little bit of a point in his life where he didn't want to really play video games anymore as he was growing up. So I'm not knocking any of that. Don't get me wrong. Like I don't mean that disrespectfully. I promise. I don't know how that came off, but I look back at that, and that event is actually emotional because I had so many memories of that guy. I had so many memories on the Chapter 1 map. We were saying goodbye to it. I remember like, oh my God, we are actually getting a new map. We are actually getting a new map here. But that's just the end event, man. Season X in general was some of the most fun I've ever had playing this game. Every week, a POI update, a mega change in item. It was the ultimate casual season. It would have been perfect if you would have just kept those gimmicks out of Arena. I wish we could have a season like Season X again, man. I had so much fun. It was a short season, bite-sized, the battle pass, like everything about Season X was great in my opinion. But that's the end of Chapter 1. And I can't believe how much I nailed that. We're just over an hour into the stream, or over an hour into the podcast. I wanted to make a podcast talking about the future of the Clen channel. But I was thinking about that, and I was like, will everybody like to watch that? Probably not. So why not make a Fortnite retrospective type thing, right? And then you'll have plenty of time to talk about the Clen channel, but little did I know I would do all this. So we're going to do a Chapter 2. I don't know, maybe we'll put Chapter 3 and 4 in the same one, but we're definitely going to do a Chapter 2, dedicate a whole hour to that. I can't believe how well that worked out with timing. So please, guys, if you watched so far into the podcast, let me know if you're enjoying this. If you want to see this for Chapter 2, please, like, it helps out. I'm always here to listen to criticism on the channel if there's something you guys don't like, okay? This is something that I would like to listen to, just someone talking about Fortnite. But, again, let me know. If you want to see more of this type of stuff, just me doing it solo, check out the podcast with PBJ. I'm really enjoying that. We're going to shoot to make that a weekly thing. And I'll just do the solo podcast every once in a while, the Clencast. So if you would also like to hear about, like, my YouTube goals, my history with YouTube, stuff like that, the other channels, what I want to do with the future of the Clen channel, the Clen brand, I want to make a podcast about it. I thought it'd be perfect. Like, talk a little bit of Fortnite and then just transition into that. But didn't work out, did it? I actually got to get off because, like, I planned for this to be an hour because I'm going to play some League of Legends. But yeah, again, guys, let me know if you listen to the podcast this far. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening to the Clencast. Guys, if you are new here and you enjoy the content, please consider hitting the like button and help out the channel a ton, and subscribe if you are brand new. So comment down below. Let me know if it's something you'd like to hear. Let me know if you want one for Chapter 2. Thank you so much for joining me in the Clencast, guys. I will see you in the next video, podcast, stream, whatever it may be. Take care, everybody.